Do you enjoy technical drawing? Can you pay very close attention to detail? Are you good at following written instructions and diagrams? Can you work both accurately and quickly? If you have answered yes to these questions, the occupation of apparel and related pattern maker may be the one for you. These pattern makers are the technical backbone of the clothing production process. Their task is to translate a design into a blueprint from which copies of products ranging from shoes and shirts to coats and gloves are made. Depending on where they work, pattern makers may also be called clothing pattern makers, footwear pattern makers, or general goods pattern makers. Experienced pattern makers have the skill to interpret a design concept quickly and efficiently. They are usually proficient garment makers and understand how the type of fabric impacts on the sewing process. A pattern maker therefore takes all aspects of production into account when creating a pattern. These workers have a very important part job, as the way a pattern is drafted impacts on how material is cut and how much wastage there is. This ultimately influences the production costs and the profit margin of the manufacturer. Pattern makers start the process by studying the designs, instructions, and other production information that describe the item to be produced. This information usually comes from the designer who created a concept for the item. Pattern makers use their knowledge of sewing, fabrics, and their understanding of design to draft the pattern. Although most pattern makers can draft patterns by hand, special computer software programs are usually used for this process. Using this software, the pattern maker creates the outlines of the pattern pieces and adds details to show where darts, buttonholes, pleats, and other features go. Once the drafting is complete, a sample of the item is made up. This ensures that the pattern is accurate. If necessary, the pattern maker makes adjustments to the draft. Patterns are then scaled up or down so that garments of various sizes can be made. This process is called pattern grading. The pattern maker also creates a guide to show how the separate pattern parts should be laid out on the fabric to ensure that the maximum number of pieces can be cut from a sheet of material. These workers require first-rate communication skills to communicate effectively with designers and their assistants, as well as sampling and production staff within the factory. Pattern makers typically work regular factory hours, except when approaching deadlines, which may demand overtime. In order to enter this career, a qualification in pattern making is required. Courses in fashion design often have pattern making modules as part of their curriculum. Some employers may upskill a sewing machine operator or a pattern cutter by sending them on a specialized pattern making course. A trainee will then gain experience through further on the job training and mentoring by an experienced pattern maker. With further education and experience, pattern makers can follow careers as fashion designers or garment production managers. A number of experienced pattern makers are self-employed and do freelance work for various manufacturers.